Hello, Art of Innovation podcast. This is our second episode ever, and we are here with Mr. Jake Hess,
How you doing?
Alex Grom, and
Muhammad Ayman.
co-host Muhammad Aidul.
Ayman, but it's okay.
Hi,
It's okay.
Muhammad Ayman, I know. What did I say?
And Tarek Morsi.
Tarek Morsi, yeah. And we're coming to you with extreme value. I know Mo wanted to start this podcast off with something very specific to ask Jake. So
Yeah. Jay, just off camera, you're telling me this interesting story about how you used a personality test to cultivate information about your clients.
Yeah.
I feel like that one story captivates your out-of-the-box thinking and innovation that you bring to the table in such a beautiful manner. I just want to kick this podcast off with that, and I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Jake. Like he said, he's a smart man. And
Future president. Future FDSU president.
that's right. Vote. No, yeah.
I think we can talk about this now.
And we could talk about it now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're allowed?
We're not allowed until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh,
But he's on my team, so he's let to know.
okay. Yeah, so to answer that, I guess a lot of people are wondering how you get clients, how you get people bought into things. And one of the things that I did was create a personality test. Now, you've probably heard of those before, so you're right. I did not invent the idea. All I did was saw that it worked for someone else and wondered how I could utilize it for my own. So for the industry that I work in, which happens to be the solar industry, I noticed that there are different types of people. The ones that are just the workhorses that go out and they just crank on sales, right? And then there's another type of sales rep that goes out and they know everything about it, but they can never seem to sell because they hang around with the CEOs the most, so they can regurgitate all of the same data, but they don't know what it means or how to apply it. You know, there's different personalities in the industry, and it's pretty standard and typical that, you know, these people will make a certain amount. If you're in an industry long enough, you see it. There's patterns to everything. And all I did was take the idea of a personality test. It's called the 16 personality test, and they have different characters. So I just had my own characters made up. I went to a graphic designer. I can't remember, it was like $300 or something, and they created 16 different figures. And then the test has about 86 questions. So in a whole bunch of different categories, I asked 3 questions per category. And that allowed me, when someone entered their name in and their email, and they took the test to find out which character they got that showed about how much they made and what they can do to improve and, you know, what type of personality they are and, you know, all this data that we made up, not made up, all this data we put together based on what we knew. What I was really doing was I was creating a platform where they could make it fun and they could post this character that they have. By the way, we haven't rolled it out yet. We're doing split testing right now, and I'll describe that. But when they post it on Facebook, I don't have to pay for ads anymore because the next person that's in sales and solar is going to say, oh, I want to see what I got. Now, I'm only targeting the salespeople. If I did Facebook ads and I put Tesla in there as a target, then I could get an 80-year-old man that bought a Tesla because they want one. I don't want that. I don't want to pay for that. I want specifically the people that I want to market to. Because I own the Solar Academy and I want to sell trainings, I want to collect the data on those 3 questions. I want to find out what their weaknesses are and send a mailing campaign to them on their weaknesses and saying, if you want to get better at solar, come to this event or come to this webinar and we're going to teach you these things. And we will hold specific webinars based on the data that we collected from this personality test.
So it's multi-purpose too. So you're doing this personality test. These people are answering it, and then they're getting this character back. Oh, I'm like a dragon with a ponytail.
Sure.
Because I am innovative and I'm also funny.
Yeah.
And so that's like the cheapest incentive you could have created, like something fun for someone to want to see, and then also you get their data, and then do you use that data to find out how you're going to integrate them into the company or tell them the.
I use that data to find out how to best lure them into buying my product. So if some of the 3 questions are their knowledge on contracts, and some are on how they do finances, and some are on how the electrical works, if they fail in electrical and they fail in loans, then I'm going to send an email campaign to them hitting on electrical and loans. Increase your commission, increase your income. If you learn electrical, you'll double your income. Just click here, register here. It's free. You know, then they come, They're going to click it because they suck at it, and I know that. And then they're going to come in, and we're going to razzle dazzle them, and then we're going to funnel them into the product.
So it's
Coming out.
it's coming out. When is that coming out?
So right now we are doing some split testing, just meaning we're the way that we word things, the entry market, the graphics that we're using to see if it's going to lure people enough or not. Once we start getting back the data that we want, then we'll roll it out to the masses.
Jay, to the point that you've got here right now, I feel like you're already accomplished. You've gone out and like founded so many businesses, and you've obviously done well for yourself. But if I can just take you back to your first starting points, please tell me and the viewers what that was like, and like what struggles did you go through?
Sure.
What those taught you?
I was very broke, and I actually am missing teeth right here. This one. I was so broke that I would turn the shower hot and then ice cold and then hot just so I could feel something other than the pain, and it ended up falling out. That's when I decided to start a business. I was completely broke. And so for me, it was really difficult to create something with no money and then sell it, right? And that was the most difficult thing to do. I had to be the salesman. So I went and knocked on doors and I started selling stuff, and then I would use part of the money to pay my bills, being broke, and buy food, and then I would use part of it to reinvest into the company, right? And I just kept doing that over and over and over until I encouraged someone to follow me, not based on money, but based on my ability to train them to do what I was doing. And they came and followed me, and now I got another sales rep and another one, and another one, until it got to a point where I could raise the prices a little bit so that I could make the money by training them instead of going out and selling.
So you had already started your business? So you were selling and then reinvesting the sales into your own business?
Yeah. And that's not uncommon.
Yeah, isn't it uncommon? What were you doing before that, even? Feel like 20, or I don't know how old you were.
Yeah, so I was knocking doors, and I'd made so much money. But when you knock doors in what we call a summer program, you tend to miss out on summer. For 10 years of the prime of my life, I missed out on the barbecues and the beaches and the vacations with your friends for the summer. And so when I moved to San Diego, where it's like summer year round, right? Bars everywhere, ladies in bikinis, surfing. I'm like, whoa. So I spent all of my money not working. And then I spent all of my credit cards. And then I was dating someone and convinced her. I racked up her credit cards. And I just became extremely toxic.
Susan.
Yeah, I was. Don't worry, I can make money to snap up a finger. I just have to go out. And I never did. And I lost the work ethic. And that's how I became broke. I lost my girlfriend because she found out I was a degenerate loser, getting drunk at bars and surfing every day, right?
In December.
And spending her money in December. And so, yeah, I lost relationships. I lost my girlfriend. And that's when I started the company. Yeah, something in me snapped. Not when I lost my girlfriend. I had just hit rock bottom. That was it. I just hit the low. Everyone thinks they hit rock bottom, but I feel like I know what that means to a different level.
Do you think it was necessary to hit that before you? Would you think it was the catalyst to what
it is? Well, absolutely necessary if you're as stupid as I am. Yes. Some people learn faster.
It was on my mind too, Tariq, because I see this recurring theme of, especially entrepreneurs, that they go through this one moment that like makes them say, like, fuck this. Not this anymore. Anything else but this. Because I feel like that brings desperation. I feel desperation is a fantastic motivator.
Oh yeah.
So for you, Alex, and you, Jake, as well, was there ever a like fuck this moment that you can recall that made just like
almost every other week? All the time. I mean, all the time. There's like, I mean, especially like what he was saying, what Jake was saying during his presentation about, like a level 1 entrepreneur where you're telling everyone what to do. And that's where like the most headaches happen. And so, I'm only a fraction of like expert in solar as Jake. So I'm
He's
still
good.
in a lot.
He's lying. I've heard him. I've seen him. He's good.
So I still am sort of telling people what to do a lot of the times. And so that does come with like a lot of frustrations, and especially people problems. That's probably like my number one problem is just managing people. But yeah.
No, yeah, it is a difficult thing. There's a saying out there that an entrepreneur walks up to a cliff and they have to jump off of the cliff and they have to figure out how to build an airplane on the way down, even though they've never done it before. And the bottom is being completely broke. And so if you have money, you know what, I'm going to start a business. That means you're cutting off the job that you're used to working and you're jumping off a cliff. Like, a lot of people think that they can build a business and still have a job. No, you can't. I mean, you can, but I promise you'll never have that business where you want it to be. You either committed or you're not committed, right? And so you jump off the cliff and figure out how to build it before you lose all your money. And a lot of people will not do that. They will not quit their job to start a business. And if you have supplemental income, then you, even if it's that much of a shred of effort, you don't have to do because you have this other job where you're like, oh, I'm just so exhausted. I have money. I'll do it next time. Even that little thing right there, it could be the difference between you building one little system a day over and over and over again, that another person would be doing if you didn't. You have to quit. You have to burn your ships. You have to make sure that everything is done and you can rely on nothing and no one, and then you build a company. You jump off the cliff and build that airplane on the way down before you crash and die. Now, where Alex is at, and probably a lot of other entrepreneurs, based on what you were saying, is everyone thinks that they have to jump off that cliff one time. That's not accurate. You have to jump off that cliff 100 times in your business if you want to scale. So where you're at right now is jumping off the cliff. You might not have the funds to jump off the cliff to build the business, or if you're someone that can't delegate and put someone else in charge, you might not have the funds to do that. It's going to be a choice between your bills or paying them for theirs. And there's your cliff. The question is, if you give all of the money you have to that person that you're very minusculely getting from your business to pay your bills, if you give it to them to pay them, is your time worth enough that you could go make $1 more than what you're paying them because you're making more money and you're freed up your time? If your time is not more valuable than the person you hired, then you should not own a business. You will not scale. You need to put someone else in charge, right? And so you have to believe that if you can free up your time, you will make more money than the person that's there, but you are jumping off a cliff again.
And the big thing from what I've heard you talk about a lot of this time is, so you're jumping off the cliff, but in reality, it's you trying to save yourself by building an airplane and surviving, but you believe that the right way to build that airplane, 3 years of experience and what we've heard during this presentation, is the best way to build that airplane is to let, you put a quote up by Steve Jobs, let other smarter people handle the tasks so that you don't have to, and that's the reason you hire smart people.
Yeah.
So your whole philosophy is to hire people to do hard things. Why do you think that's effective?
My philosophy is always be the one that is taking the bigger risk than anyone else. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, and some entrepreneurs will be like, no, we're risk adverse. Our job is to make things risk adverse, right? We need stability and safety. But they're wrong. I mean, anyone that is truly in business will tell you that they're stronger gambling addicts than someone in Vegas is, right? You go to Vegas and you put 100 on black and you lose, it's no big deal. Entrepreneurs are doing that with their income. They're doing that with their businesses every single day. They're doing it with the people that they trust. And with it, you're trying to put someone in a position and you're gambling that they're not going to go sexually harass someone, or you're gambling, creating a lawsuit that you're going to lose them. You're going to lose the employee that sexually harassed in the lawsuit coming, right?
And just like gambling, the house usually wins.
Yeah. So you are gambling. You're constantly gambling, and entrepreneurs tend to gamble the most of anybody. They're just not gambling in Vegas. They're gambling with their lives, and a lot of times putting assets on the line, right?
Guys, how do you, sorry, Jake, not cutting you off, but how do you get that courage to make that jump? Because I feel like, doesn't that scare you? That like you're putting your whole business and like the lives of not just your families, but the lives of your the families of your employees on the line to build this business?
Well, I feel like in the beginning, you really have nothing to lose. If you're a true entrepreneur, you want it more than anything, and you would do anything. You'd literally cut your right foot off for your business, you know? So you would do anything and everything. But when you're at scale, there's a lot less risk. So it's not, it's not that big of a deal once you're at scale, if that makes sense. The risk goes down with scale.
Yes, that is accurate.
And then there's the you can hit the bottom off the cliff and then try again. when you have some money to back you up?
No. I mean, did you say when you have someone to back you up?
When you have money to back you up.
You need someone to pick you. If you are that committed, and sometimes people like, they pull the parachute, like, whoa, that was a rush. But no, right? If you slam on the ground, if you truly are committed and you slam on the ground and you've lost everything, then you're going to need someone to pick you up again. And you're going to need to move back in with mom and dad. And you're going to have to probably go do something, get a job or do something to build yourself back up again to a place. And I don't even just mean financially. I mean emotionally, because you go through that. Talk about some real PTSD. You know what I mean? You start to doubt yourself. There's criticism from everyone else. Everyone's whispering in your ear, stronger than they did before. Don't do this again. Go the stable route. Like, there's no parachute situation. If you hit that ground, you'll need help getting back up. And if you don't need help, then you didn't push hard enough.
Jay, I think you're saying the way you get back up after falling off that cliff is doing what you do best, or doing what you know that can make you money, which for you is sales, right?
It's turned out to be that someone said that there's a new way of doing business. Traditionally, there's a president, a COO, CRO, right? But businesses are actually now starting to bring in visionaries as the elite. In fact, paid more and more valuable than the CEO. And I think it's kind of like a newer hipster thing, or like the old people are like, I think it's a newer concept where, you're a visionary, like you eat tofu and do yoga too. Like, it has that mentality to some people. But visionaries are actually the ones that are pushing the boundaries and thinking outside of the boxes and creating the impact and the differences that actually make the business for the CEOs to run. And that's now quickly becoming a position in a lot of businesses as a visionary. So I would say that I am that. And because I can tell marketing, I want it to look this way because everyone will feel like this. If we create this, they'll absorb it into their lives this way. But it has to look like this. No, I don't want to deal with attorneys and finances and payroll. That's the CEO. Do that. All right, guys, and so it's turning that way. What do you think?
I haven't heard that before, but I'm curious to see like how that differentiates from a CEO, because that's kind of where I picture myself actually, like a visionary. But because I hate dealing with all the stuff that a typical CEO deals with. But my understanding of a CEO is really just leading, the driver of the van, leading the company where it needs to go. But a visionary sounds like that's, especially today's, environment where starting a business is harder than ever. And I think that could become more prevalent.
The visionary is doing all these thought experiments, and sometimes it's not even possible, right? And the CEO and the COO, operations and enforcement of things, is just what the visionary wants to happen, and then they're just enforcing it.
Yeah, so let's say that I want to do something, and I'm like, no, guys, we can do it. And then the CFO is like, hey, CEO, we cannot fund this, right? Now me, I'd be like, all right, I'd have to listen to the CEO at that point because I hire smart people to tell me what to do, right? I'd be like, all right, how can I make this happen and not use any of those resources then? And I think, and I'm like, all right, how about this? And then I go back to them, and they're like, okay, we're going to need this, and this. That's okay, I can fund it if we do this. And then I'm creating. That's what a visionary does, is they take the obstacles and they think around them to create value, to get the things that they want.
I really like that title. I think that should be my new title.
And it can be. There's a lot of actually solar companies that are leaning because it's so unregulated and new that you can create anything you want. And I've just happened to find that no one else wants to create anything. I can create magazines, like a GQ magazine for solar. I could do that. Everything that this world has for every industry, the solar industry doesn't have it. And I don't someone talked to me about a clothing line. We don't have an official clothing line in solar, but construction does. Milwaukee shirts, DeWalt, they have their brands, right? We don't have one for solar. Let's make one. Yeah, you can literally make anything in our industry right now, and no one's doing it. So it's like, I'll do it all if I can. And so what I'm doing is just building up these businesses, putting people in charge of them, and I'm going and building the next thing the industry doesn't have. And I'm just shocked that other people aren't doing it.
In the beginning of your presentation, you told everyone I think differently than everyone else in this industry, and then you explain to us how. Can you explain to us how you think differently on this podcast?
Yeah, Alex thinks differently too, by the way. I went and met with his little group that he brought out here to San Diego, because you're in multiple places, right?
Yeah.
And he definitely does. Some of the stuff he was having people do, the way he formatted it was different than I formatted my business. What do you think?
About that specific group, or why I think we think differently, I guess.
Yeah. Because you guys brought out like
really
clear
cool.
steps and stuff.
I think what I admire most about Jake is the fact that he...
I meant about you. What do you think different? How do you think different?
Well, I've realized, I think we do it the same way. Like, I've just realized the reason why I even started my solar company was because of being burned by all these different companies. Not necessarily the management, but really the culture. And I just felt like there was a better way to do it, like he was saying in his presentation. And I've realized over time that really the way to do good business and stay in business is to provide value without asking for anything in return. And over time, that will just lead to much bigger rewards. So I actually met Jake Hess in person. I knew about him. I saw him at RoofCon in Orlando, and I was like, holy shit, that's Jake Hess. And I was like, we got to finish our beers, because I'm going to be nervous. Like, I've never talked to him, never met him. And finished our beer, walked over, and I wasn't expecting anything. Just thought it was super cool to meet him. And I knew he lived in La Jolla. I knew he lived there, by the way. I didn't do research. I just knew from a podcast or something. And I was like, oh my God, I can make this work where he could come down when he's available. You know, I know I'm asking from him for a bit at first, but it's only an hour. I think he'll have a good time. And then eventually that led to this. That's how we're on this podcast right now. So just by giving and without asking and just doing as much as you can, always just leads to bigger and better things. And that's really, it's mostly seen in the solar industry because of how it's not regulated and because of people screwing customers over. You've probably heard a lot of horror stories in solar. There's a lot of bad things that have happened, and those people are going out of business. They're getting sued. And the ones that have been doing good and honest business, those are the ones that are sticking around. And I don't know how that translates to other industries, but it definitely is real in solar.
Alex, can you tell us one of those horror stories that you mentioned, and what separates the way you guys do business than these unideal practices that are prevalent in the industry?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of horror stories with customers. So with solar, since it's unregulated, you could just, one of the biggest expenses for middle-class families is an electric bill. It's really important to be able to know what you're paying on your electric bill. And a lot of these families, are paying $300-400 a month, and a solar rep could come in and say, hey, I'm going to cover all of your bill, and you won't have to pay anything out of pocket, and it's now going to be $200 a month. But what they don't say is that it's not going to cover all their bill. They didn't realize, they didn't know the software. They didn't do any training or certifications. They just sold a $100,000 loan that in any other industry you need hours and hours of certifications and classes. So they just sold a $100,000 loan. They didn't do any analysis on the roof or the shading. So now the homeowner thinks they're going to be covering, they think they're not paying anything out of pocket. Their whole bill is going to be covered, but instead they're stuck with a solar system that's only producing a quarter or half of what they need. They didn't explain the tax credit, so now their payment goes up and they're actually paying more and they can't afford it. And then they tell all their friends and family, don't go solar. So, and that's what really he's fixing a lot of those things in the industry. That's just one example with, homeowners and the sales aspect of it, but it also comes down to culture as well. There's just a lot of companies with toxic culture, where it's okay to say those certain things. It's okay to say what you need to say in order to get the deal. And that just does not end well because, you could get 1 or 2 or 3, sales. People have these blitzes where you go out, let's say to Texas for a week and you just sell as much as you possibly can no matter what, knowing that you're never going to be in Texas again. Who cares if someone's messed up, if someone's system was installed wrong. The installer is completely separate from the sales org, so they have no liability. And yeah, that's kind of what I know.
No, he's damn right. You think about realtors, You go to a realtor, like, they've got their cutoff right here, and they're always like this. They're always the same. I don't understand.
I feel like realtors are over certified at solar like.
Yeah, but they have they're over certified. They go you have to take the realtor exam, whatever it's called, and then you have to go work for a company. You can't just be independent and go sell. You have to work for a company, or they call it hanging your hat there. You have to pass all of these tests. What do they call it? The test. They got to get licensed to sell loans. A car dealership. They have to get licensed to be able to sell a loan. And in solar, cars. What you spend $100,000 on a car, you have to get a loan for it, and you go through all these certifications. In solar, what Alex was just saying is we could literally go to Starbucks tomorrow, get the barista and tell her she'll make a lot of money, and she could go out and sell a $100,000 loan tomorrow with no certifications, no understanding of how solar works. And she can say all the naughty things to the homeowner just to get the sale, just to get the commission. And that's what's hurting our industry. Regulation is coming from the government. And so what I'm trying to do is bring regulation to the industry first through an association or through certification.
That they don't have to make stringent regulation that disadvantages the people.
Yeah, so when they come in, they don't know solar like we do. It's not their field. So they're going to go to the most reliable source, which would be an association of some sort. And they'd say, so tell us what's going on.
And by the way, California is one of the only ones that has some sort of regulation. It's called a HIS license.
The CSLB.
This
The Contractor State Licensing Board forces salespeople to get an HIS license.
Yeah. I'm tired of spelling that. But, and that did not end well. In my opinion, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't actually protect anyone at all. It actually creates more issues. So it's really important. I think what Jake's doing is amazing. It's really important that the industry goes towards the, regulators first, not the other way around. And that's just how the government should work in America.
And then that lack of regulation is what is a good and a bad thing. It's because it's what allows you to innovate. And it's also what allows people to have no understanding of the mission of solar and just be purely monetarily motivated and go up to people door to door saying, not understanding what solar is actually going to do for them or how it actually works.
You can say anything and everything and get a sale and not.
Well, I do want to say this, because if this is for entrepreneurs, I don't want you to think this is specific to solar, the creativity. We just talked about realtors that is highly regulated, right? There is nobody in this world or in this country, I think, going out to realtors and saying, you are the best dressed realtor. You're the best dressed. Because if you built up a reputation, like, who did I talk about? Property Brothers. They're on television, sure. But now we have cameras everywhere, and we have social media everywhere, TikTok and everything. If you can generate enough interest on those things, then you can go get the best dressed realtor. And if these realtors go to a big ass convention and they see you walking around with a camera, they're like, look at my clothes. Now it's becoming a thing that everyone's buying into, and you can become that famous just by giving an award for the best dress, right? It doesn't have to be the solar industry. You can be creative in any industry you want as long as you put effort behind it and you have passion. Effort, passion, you're good. Just don't quit. That is literally the difference between anyone that's successful and not, is at some point someone quits.
It also helps that it's an emerging industry too.
No.
It doesn't.
No, because I'm doing it in other industries.
Besides solar.
Yeah.
So the movie industry, right?
Yeah, I'm doing that one too. No, I'm just kidding.
but awards already exist for them, right? Can you tell us the award story you created? Because that kind of blew. I saw the whole room, everyone's minds get simultaneously blown after you told the award story.
Yeah, 90% of the awards you see out there are probably made by someone. So if you guys go and look at the rule books for business or this country, there is no rule against building an award. There's just not. And so you can go build an award, just like J.D. Power and Associates did, just like the Nobel Peace Prize did, just like the Better Business Bureau. You can create these things and say, they are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. I just happened to create one called the Excellence in Solar Award. And it just happens to be my businesses. We're the first ones to get it. So when someone goes on my website for Helio Gold and they see a little icon down there, then the homeowner's like, oh, what is that? And they click on it, because you can do that on a website. And then it takes them to the website of the award that I also made. Then like, oh, wow, my God. Wow, oh, they did that. Oh, okay. We can trust this company. They got this award and look at these accreditations. We can trust this company. There is no rule against that. You can create an award system. You can create anything you want. You can create a personality test. There is the things are limitless. You don't need permission to create an award for the best university that's in the country. I mean, people have them. They're ranked, but everyone's tired of MIT. Harvard, get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Like, what about SDSU? What are you guys the best at that no one else in the country is at? And could you imagine if I had enough steam and enough people watching me, and if I came to SDSU and people knew who I was, if the people that ran it would open the doors and be like, yes, we are, come on, I can't even believe you're here. Go explore the campus. I'd get a free pass. And that's what I've done in solar. You get a free pass to walk in to these multi-billion-dollar companies, and I just get to walk in and Jake Hess is here. Holy shit. Hey, owner. And you know, like, and it's because I've done that in this industry because I know it. You can do it in any of them.
But it's that's an example, and those two examples, which are the award story and then the personality story, are themes of your innovative thinking. So that can be seen across your career that you kind of explained to us. But you did start in a conventional way, where you were doing things in a conventional way. How did the process go from being conventional way of thinking into this think differently way? Because people don't even think to think that way.
Yeah, and I want everyone that's listening to know, if you go look up these things, they're still being built, right? SolarCon 3, so I'm on a conference called SolarCon. SolarCon 3 is when we're rolling out the award system, but it has to be verified. It has to be verifiable. There is an award system in our industry now that's not verifiable. It's just, they said it, someone confirmed it, that is, so someone says I'm the top sales rep, the company's like, yep, they are. They did that many, but no, there's no verification. And so what we're doing is creating a verifiable award system, and we're going to roll it out like the Oscars. We're going to make people dress up. We're going to do the whole, it's a production. We're going to do that, and it's coming for SolarCon 3. We're doing, and the personality test mentioned is not coming out. So I just wanted to clarify, not out yet. That is the next things that I'm building. So if you're in the solar industry,
Look out for that. Yeah.
watch out.
Guys, going off this question for both of you.
Sorry I didn't answer his
Yeah,
question.
can you answer mine real quick?
Oh, okay.
Because that was the most interesting thing to me.
What was it?
Because you started off pretty conventionally, in a conventional way. Yeah. And then you met this guy, I don't remember his name,
Ben Mack.
Ben Mack. And he sort of enlightened you, or I don't know how it went down, but how did you start thinking differently?
He enlightened me to start building myself out of the company because most people that build a company, the funniest thing that they say is, I built this so I could be with my family more often. And it's the very opposite. You are with your family less unless you can learn to build yourself out. And Ben is the one that, through a lot of fighting and trial and error, he's the one that conditioned me, is the proper word, and taught me how to build myself out. I just took it to a whole nother level than he did. And Ben, if you're listening, that's right, bitch. But just kidding. I love you. But no, so he taught me that. But where the creativity started coming was I went to this guy's conference called Kane and Alessia Minkus. They're very much alive and kicking right now in their industry. Their industry is the entire business industry. So if you're in business, go to one of their events, because holy hell. I thought I knew everything because I was running a business like Alex. I'm like, I could do that. I was like, okay. So I started writing things down, and it got so bad that I had to take a rest that day. And it was a 3-day thing. Second day, same thing, until it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I could do all of this. It would take me about 10 years, or I could hire them and have it done in 8 months. And I did. Mentors and coaches, they skip time. That's all they are, is time skippers. And so I hired them, and I just...
Who do you like?
Kane and Alessia Minkus. And they taught me how to start being creative and start creating this personality test thing. That was his idea. I just took it to the solar industry. And so I'm not the innovative and creative one. The world is. I just copy what the world has done. And I just reapply it with my own flair on it. That's it.
Beautiful.
My question was, since both of you, I feel like through our conversation and your presentation, you guys have a different way of thinking, and like you guys are pioneers in your own right. My question is there some popular practice in entrepreneurship which you don't agree with and that you do differently than most people do?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Different. Are you thinking solar or just
Just in general.
I I think the biggest thing is wokeness in these large corporations. But besides that, I can't really think of a practical,
What do you mean woke? It's
That's an interesting.
you know, like just everything, you know. And I'm not about like one of those guys that just like, oh my God, they made the M&M like this way. Like I don't give a shit about that. I'm just saying like when it's in your face constantly all the time, over time, it just kind of
defeats the purpose.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. So traditional business practices, are there fallacies in them today? Yeah. Anyone in business will tell you that if you don't adapt to the times, then you die. And, you know, is the CEO of Blockbuster around? Because like that's the, you know, we see it over and over and over and over again. You have got to innovate. You've got to. So if that is the truth, then shouldn't some of the practices in business be innovated as well, right? We just talked earlier on this podcast about having a visionary. In the past, that might sound a little hippie shit, right? Because we know how to do business. It's very structured and confined and you operate in these boxes. But now you can get people that are thinking like this and, oh, what if we could have this? And they're figuring out how to make it a reality. Unless you have someone doing that in your business, thinking outside of the box and thinking of the impossibilities and how to make them a reality, then you too will die because someone else is doing it. And one of my favorite quotes is by Mark Cuban. He says, Jake Hess is the best. No, hold on. He says,
that was different.
that was a different one he said. No, he says, work as if someone is working 24 hours to take it all away from you because they are.
It's like so what David Goggins said.
Wait, say it again.
Work as if someone is working 24 hours a day to take everything away from you.
Because they are.
Because they are. And so if there is someone that has someone that's thinking like, well, what if we could, maybe if I tried this, then we could make it work. And if your company's not doing that and they're trying to work in the confines of system processes, like I think of it like the Henry Ford assembly line, right? He was one of those people that thought, well, what if we did this? He used to have, when boxes got delivered, they were delivered in wood crates. He used to say, hey, if you're going to deliver that to me, do you mind just making it these dimensions and drilling holes right here in these precise spots? Then he would disassemble them and put them as the floor on his vehicle, right? That's innovative thinking.
And that saves time.
The assembly line itself is innovative thinking, and it saves time and it creates efficiencies. But someone thought of it. And so the other manufacturers are like, well, shit, right? Now they have to copy and they're already behind. And so if you don't have someone that is thinking that way in your business, someone that might sound crazy and hippie shit to you, then you're already losing in today's industry, I believe.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you believe that's where your strength lies in the vision?
I do. I think it's one of my strengths. I didn't say this out there, but that same guy, Kane, that I went to, he has pictures with all these celebrity people, and I do too now, but he told me that it would take years of speaking on stages until I got to that platform. And I thought, well, shit. Well, I'll just build my own then. There we go. I'll build my own. And now I get to have those people come and speak at my things, and I get to speak on stage. It took me a year to do it instead of 10. It's not, yes, I do think that I think creatively. And I also don't like the traditional route of thinking. Hey, you have to pay your dues. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. I'm like, no, someone already did that. All I have to do is copy them and make it better. And then I'm there. And so if I do want to speak on stage at Comic-Con, or if I do want to do something and have a thing at Comic-Con, maybe I have to go develop a DC Marvel comic or something, a DC or Marvel comic, and then I get to create it, and then I get to sell it. No, that's the traditional route. I'll just build a Comic-Con. You know what I mean?
I don't feed into the industry.
Yeah, like if everyone's doing this path, just be like, oh, I want to be here. Okay, I'll just make that.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Right? It's like so simple that people wouldn't think of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of hard work.
It's hard work, yeah.
But it's actually, here's the beautiful part. It's actually easier than anyone thinks. They're so afraid. They see this end goal and they want to be there. I want to be there someday. Well, here's the craziest part. The only reason that they have value, the only reason they're way up there is because everyone else that's a part of it feels something. And what are they feeling? They're feeling recognized. They're feeling valued. They're feeling like they have a platform to say the things that they want to say on. Comic-Con, for example. They get to, and I say Comic-Con because we're here in San Diego, but they get to express themselves. They get to be these characters they want. And all someone did was create a platform for them to feel that way, right? And so if you think about it, you're not in the business of building a conference. You're in the business of building a platform that people can be who they are and feel valued and feel seen. And so if you can do that, then you skip time everywhere. That's the hard part.
They don't care who did it.
The hard part is, sorry, that's not the hard part. That's the easy part is what I meant to say, is just creating a platform where you can allow people to feel what they want and be recognized. And then you can do anything on the Facebook groups, on conferences, in business, and anything that you want to do. That's what you're creating. Just allow people to feel value and be recognized.
You talk a lot about like time skipping, but you're saving a lot of time by just doing things yourself instead of waiting on it in the industry. Is there other ways you skip time?
Yes. What about you?
Automation is like the key word there. Automate everything, systems and processes.
Yeah. So all the way down to hiring someone, right? I could sit in front of them and do an interview, or I could have someone else do it that's more likable and more. So if I want a salesperson to work strictly on commission, maybe I'm not the guy to recruit him. Maybe someone else is better than me, so I'll go get that person. And rather than interview or try to recruit 100 people and get 20 of them, I'll have him recruit 100 people and get 80 of them. I'm not good at it. You be good at it. And I'm just creating a platform that he is the very best at recruiting. I'm just creating a platform where he can be recognized and valued higher than any other place. And now I have the top recruiter. I don't have to build a recruiting infrastructure to get that kind of volume. I have to build something that he feels more valued anywhere else to get me that.
So you built up your own business. You became a master at implementing systems and processes, and to the point where you sold
his systems and processes, which I agree with. I have created platforms where the people that are extremely good at what they do feel more valued than any other place they could be at.
Yeah, and you talked about also how you implemented systems and processes so effectively to the point where you sold your company, and then now you're out there implementing systems and processes across numerous other companies, right? So you have a share in like 5-6 other companies. Do you have a criteria for what companies you undertake?
Oh, absolutely. That's a good question. I would say on a daily basis, I get companies that want to partner with me. But I have to make sure, like the software products I talk about, I've seen 15 different softwares and I'm not backing one of them. If I back one and I start to promote it, like Tiger Woods and Nike, right? If I start to do that and Nike goes out of business in 3 weeks, then I get to look at my audience and be like, sorry about that. Let's try this one. And I lose all credibility. So I have to do my due diligence. I have to make sure it works. I have to make sure it's accurate, and it feeds into the morality issues of the industry, and it is honest and clean, but it also is profitable. I research all of these things before I'll back it because my reputation is on the line too. So yes, I do have a stringent process on that.
Okay.
Are there any entrepreneurs or business people that you guys look up to? And what have you learned from them? Well, obviously, Jay.
No, for real. Like I like more than anyone, and at least in solar, because it's if I'm going to look up to someone, it's obviously going to be as close to
What you're doing.
yeah. So definitely,
It's a good form.
because then you can kind of. I feel like every industry has its own little niches and its own little cliques, and if you want to truly learn from someone or truly admire someone, and from afar, by the way, because I don't really talk to him that much. He's super busy. I rarely get to talk to him. This is like the third time I've seen him in person. So, like I'm mostly watching his videos or listening to his podcast or just trying to think like how he thinks. It's just a lot easier to do that if you're doing somewhat of the same thing. So I would say Jake, but yeah. Besides that, maybe Elon Musk, because he's just a boss. I don't know. I love that.
Yeah, me too. It's Jake, Elon Musk, and
Tommy Shelby. Those are my three.
Here's the unique part: is it's not. I do admire a lot of the things that the greats say, like Steve Jobs. Some of his quotes, obviously, I quote him there. Bradley's started to be. He's controversial, but some of the things he says, it's like, sorry, he's controversial. You can't argue it, right? But I actually, the ones I value the most are kind of, I don't know how to say this nicely. They're kind of the trying to be somebody's because the only way that they can become somebody is to put the effort and the work in. And so they're constantly being kinder to everybody else. And they're constantly like, they're actually visionaries themselves because they're trying to grow. Like podcasts like you guys are doing right here, you're the ones that I would kind of look up to because you have an audience that I don't have, right? And so if I want my audience to get big, which is ultimately what people want to do, then like you were doing with your campaign, you're going and getting these different groups, right? They're the best of this for their group. So I actually listen to the people that are trying to become and are positive, and I talk with them, and I'm fascinated with their ideas and what they're going to do to see if I can dump fire on it, because if I can and I can build them up, then I have that many people advocating for me that have an audience that I don't have. And the newest one right now, and I'm just going to tell my secrets, is Sherry D. Do you know her in social media? So she just popped up out of nowhere being positive and kind to everyone. I'm like, huh. So now I'm flying her across the country and going to these high-end meetings that I am because all she's doing is spitting out valuable and heartfelt stuff and kind to everybody. And she's building this following, and I'm watching, and some of the people on there are ones that I've kicked out of my groups. Like, right? And I'm watching, I'm like, huh, how could she cultivate kindness out of them when I couldn't? And the fact is, we can't do everything, right? So all I have to do is dump fire on her and have her see value in me, and then she will tell them, no. You don't do that. You don't do that to Jake, you don't do that to anyone, and they respect her. And so all I'm doing is going and finding these true leaders in our industry, and I say true leaders because they have to come from nothing to becoming something. Right? And that's where I find a lot of my inspiration.
You seem to have an emphasis on realizing your weaknesses and realizing what your strengths are. You seem very aware of what you're strong at doing and what you're weak at doing.
I think entrepreneurship really brings that out in you.
Yeah.
It's like you really need to know. If not, you're just not going.
Well, you say, yes, you're right. You take one of those big I-beam metal poles that you use for weights, and if you're like, no, I know I'm weak in it, but I'm not going to pay attention to it. Then all of a sudden it's going to come and go whack right across your face. Like, oh shit! I should have paid attention to that.
I've heard multiple things about that. If you know your strengths and weaknesses, everyone says focus on your weaknesses. That's the conventional thing to say. Or like focus on both, whatever. And then I've heard Gary V. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on Gary V is.
Dope.
But Gary V, like he says a lot of, like every sentence is value, so it's like a lot to process. But Gary V said, you shouldn't focus on your weaknesses, like double down on your strengths.
Absolutely.
So that's your way of thinking too.
100%.
That's what I was going to think it was going to be.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I couldn't get her to follow that guy. I couldn't make that impact or influence. And so all I'm going to do is put my strengths onto her, and so that she can handle my weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, being aware of them, being aware of his weaknesses. Because if Jake wasn't aware that was one of his weaknesses, he would have never gotten her to do that.
Yeah.
What other qualities like self-awareness is necessary for entrepreneurship?
Discipline's like number one.
Yeah.
And grit. Being humble, I think. Because sometimes you feel like you're at a certain point where you're like, I'm good enough, but you're never good enough. Not until you're the CEO of Good Leap, at least.
Just what Jake was saying about that story of the CEO of Good Leap on that yacht with Matthew McConaughey. Because like I look at like even like the next person ahead of me with like a job per se. I was like, oh, that's like another level. And like Jake's at another level. And this guy is like on that yacht. So I feel like there are many levels to this game. So my question is like, does that happen to you guys a lot? Where like you're at this position, but you don't even realize that you are where you are at. Is that very common?
That's a deep question. I don't know.
Yes, it is for me. Like everyone says, holy shit, you've made it. You're so like, everyone knows who you are. Like, and you have to know, like I go surfing, I play with my son, I go to Disneyland, and this is the way you guys are seeing out of your eyes right now is the same way I see it out of my eyes. Like, I'm just coming to this thing. I just talked about he follows me, he does all the work, and he saw cool videos, right? To me, none of this is real. I don't understand when people say you're really well known. I don't understand it. He said, holy shit, that's Jake Hess at the conference. I don't know why you know who I am to say, holy shit, that's Jake Hess. I am trying to make money in the industry, so I have a camera follow me around so that I can get people to buy my product.
It's a byproduct.
That's simple.
And I try to be kind to everybody, because if I am, then people will buy my product, right? And I'm creating a brand for myself, and I want to speak on stage. I want to make an impact in people's lives. And so all I'm doing is grinding every day to do that. And so why would it look any different? And I don't understand. It doesn't seem real. It's weird when people want to take pictures of me, because I am working just like he is working, right? Every day I work just like he does. And so I don't understand it.
Well, at some point you come to inspire people, because you've had this mission, and none of it was for fame, and fame just became a byproduct. Not even fame, like
David will tell you right now, on the way driving here, I was freaking out. I was nervous as shit coming here. I was like, dude, I don't even know. We're gonna be late, and they're gonna hate me, and like.
I thought you were like joking to make me feel better. Like,
No,
I was like, how was he nervous about like speaking to?
I was freaking out.
I don't think.
you knew Mo was gonna be here.
No, I don't believe that. Because like when I see Jake up on stage, I'm like, oh, this guy's done it like 1,000 times.
Yeah. Like once you ran in, you just had all this energy. I was like, there's no way.
I was faking it. When I got up here and I cracked a joke and no one laughed, I was like, oh my God. It's scary. Yeah. Anyway.
But you have to do it anyway, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's actually stressful for me. I'm not speaking at this SolarCon coming up, because it's a tremendous amount of stress and pressure. And maybe that's just me being a little bitch, and I should, but I'm just not.
Do you think it's harder now because of the status that you've reached? Now you're expected to be an inspiration on people, and every time you speak, it should be inspirational, and you have to live up to the expectations.
Yeah.
So do you think it was easier to start speaking, or whatever the public speaking skills that you have? Was it easier to do those things in the beginning before you had fame and credibility?
No, if you watch me in the beginning, I was just horrible.
But no pressure.
No pressure. Yes, there was a tremendous amount of pressure, because I wanted something badly. I wanted it really bad. And so if I got up there and failed, then I lose the confidence, and people will come up to me and say, dude, that was horrible. Or why did you let him speak at you? There's a piece of shit. Then how would I feel when I went home? You know? And it's gonna come back to me, and they're gonna say, hey, no, sorry, we're not gonna have you speak next time. I read into that stuff. Everyone would. And so yeah, it's hard. It's difficult. Sounds like I'm crying on camera. I'm sorry.
Is it hard to handle the expectations?
Yeah.
No, I'm just being myself. It's not hard to handle the expectations, because from day one, I have just been doing what I do. What's scary is going on stage and everyone's like, it's like a test. They're like, okay, all right, I paid money to be here to entertain me. But it's not like that in the day-to-day operations, right? You have 1 hour on stage to have someone that goes like, all right, perform. You're like, all right, what can I do here for you, right? That's difficult. That's stressful.
Yeah, I hate public speaking. I was telling him, I was like, I want you to do most of the talking. I just want to try to get some referrals at the end. That's about it.
I have to give Alex some mad freaking props, though. And this is, when you asked me to come and speak here, did you think of anything strategical? Did you think, holy shit, I could get some?
No, honestly, I didn't. It came up like last minute.
This is what I'm talking about right here. He knows that he has this, and he wants to make an impact on these people, right? He wants to contribute to this program that he was in. So he was like, holy shit, Jake, if you're willing to. And so I came and spoke, and he was like, well, all right, well, maybe if at the last you could just put my QR code up, right? That is innovative thinking. Having someone come to captivate and mesmerize an audience, and then at the very last, put your QR code to potentially get an account. That is creative and innovative thinking. And he might not have, I know he didn't mean to do it. But now that I've said it here, some of these students that were here would be like, holy shit, I could just go get someone to speak and then put my thing at the end. He did all the work. This guy just put up a QR code, right? And if you think about it, that's all that I'm doing. He literally just did it. So did it feel like you were at marketing?
Not really, no.
No. And that's all I do is I go and I say, hey, you're really good at this. Why don't you go here and talk? Like, hey guys, I brought him for you because he's tremendous. And then he goes and does all the talking. I like, see? And like, Jake, thank you for bringing him. And I'm like, no, he did up. Oh, yes, you're welcome. You know? I guess I, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I wasn't even planning on being here. You know this.
So it feels normal. It feels like they're just doing normal things. It just happens to be a third party perspective is like, that was genius.
Can we do a little thought experiment?
Share with it. Yeah.
See, this guy is the king of efficiency from what I've heard. So let's say you have 15 people. I just literally thought of this. You have 15 people. What's like a mission that we should try to get done? Let's say create a video, right? We want to create a video. We don't know these people's skill sets. You have 15 people. You want to create a video. It's your idea to create the video. How do you delegate tasks and how do you form teams? What is the organization of this team?
Okay. I want every one of you 15. Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Jake. How's it going? I want every one of you 15 to sit down Indian style right now.
Perfect.
On the ground. Go. Fastest one that does it is the most motivated. Cool. You're the most motivated for no reason at all. Stand up. What's your name? Hey, why did you sit down so fast? Oh, because of this, 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 and this, and this. I'm like, beautiful. You're in charge of this now. All right. Now I want every one of you, and I get to hear what they're doing based on action because motion creates emotion. And so if I can see an indicator of some sort, someone's the very first doing something, then, and by the way, I'm just making all this up because you just asked the question. Then if I see how they react to something, they have an emotional reason why they were the first to do it. They have an emotional reason why they reacted that way. It's just my job to find out what it is and put them in the right place. That would be how I would do it.
I can't top that.
What about the actual composition of the teams? Like 3 here, 3 there, or what would you do?
Well, I don't know film well enough to delegate in that. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, any mission, like blanket across in the industry. How would you organize a team?
I would make sure that we had sales first because revenue coming in is easier to build off of than building overhead and then getting the sales after. That just creates stress and you lose hair like I did. I'd pull it out.
It's worth showing. It's worth saying.
So don't build overhead first, build revenue stream first. And it's difficult. And everyone says, but I don't have the product and I don't have the, no. There's ways around that. If you don't have a product, like if you wanted to make a shirt, just create the shirt like online or on a program, create the shirt with the graphic on it and pre-sell them. Say, hey, we're going to sell this to you. This is pre-selling. You get a discounted rate of this. It will, because we are pre-selling, it will be 6 weeks until you get it. If you buy it after 6 weeks, then we're going to charge you this price. You're pre-selling the product, then you get the money coming in, then you buy the product, then you ship it, right? And so you don't need money. Money is the last thing that you need to build, but what you do need is revenue coming in to create the overhead. And for some reason, business owners all across the country think that they need money to build a business. You don't. If you use money to build a business, your business is already in debt. Even if it's out of your own bank account, you've taken money that you've earned and you've invested it in a business, and now you need that money back. Your business is not going to survive if you're building it off of debt. I mean, it could, except why would you do that? Build the revenue first, then build the overhead.
As like a veteran business owner, Jake, is there something that you've learned in people management that's been eye-opening for you?
Yes.
Something that you always use or always go back to while you handle people?
Yes. We hire smart people to tell us what to do. We don't hire smart people to tell them what to do.
That's one quote I'm taking away from you.
If I hired someone, and not even hired, if I partnered with someone, and David's brother Joe is my business partner at a lot of things because he is better at a lot of stuff than I am. And so when he tells me, Jay, I don't think you should do that, I'm like, fine, okay, come on. And I trust that because he's better than me at it. And ego will start to kick in and be like, well, I've been around you long enough, and now I can make that decision. But my question would be like, but why? Why have the stress? First of all, if anything goes wrong, you could blame them. Dog, you got that one wrong that time, right? And second of all, like, why? Like, if they're already good at it and they're already making decisions, sure, you might have learned and acclimated to the decision-making process and learned it, but why? Go decide something else that no one else is working on, right? They're already damn good. You already know that because that's why they partnered with them or hired them. So go work on something else that you are suck at and bring someone else that's good at it, or go work on something that you're good at, but leave that person alone. And when they tell you something, just say, okay.
If we're at age 20,
I keep talking, dude.
You're gonna I was just like realizing that he looks exactly like Joe.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, no way.
There's connection. There's
If we start a business at age 20, right? You have all these indicators of someone's success when you bring someone onto a team and you say, oh, you're better at this than I am. So that's why I brought you on, because you scaled this company from 1 million to 14 million, like you said in that one example. Right? At age 20, no one really has any indicators of success or what they're good at or anything. So how do you say, I'm going to take this job and you're going to take that job?
They absolutely do. Just out there, you have someone that's really looking forward to making policies and creating procedures and certifications, right? If you wanted to take this to the next level, this group right here, make them get certified. Hey, take this test and make sure you pass it. Here's the booklet, here's the video. Make sure you pass it. If you do, you're certified, you can come into our group. I promise you, you'll have far more people, because they had to work to be in it, they'll value it more, right? And then if you want to grow the group, you have someone out there that's really good at making Facebook ads. If you want a campaign, he just said he's good at Facebook ads. Why the hell would you try to do it? You have someone in your group that's good at it. All you have to do is listen to people, and they say that they're good at it, and say, okay, would you do this for me? You have them out there.
Yeah.
They're 20.
And the personality tests and things like that at this age are good indicators.
Hey, are there any graphic designers out here? No? Okay. Now I get to get creative and go find them somewhere else, right? And so you don't have to be good at any of it because there are people that are already good at it. Some kids these days, like little 4-year-old kids, are better at some shit than I am. Like I love snowboarding. I used to be sponsored. I broke my back. But when I was sponsored, I swear to you, I would see little 4-year-old kids doing shit that I would be too afraid to do. And I'm like, get this kid out of here. Like, hey, I want to lose, like, get him out. Right? And so it doesn't matter what age you are. Someone is better. It's just, are you cocky or do you have a big enough ego that you can't see value in other people? That's the real question, is can you humble yourself and say, okay, they're good at that. And the more and more you do it, the faster it is. Oh, you're good at that? Okay, come do this for me. Okay, we're done with that. Next. And all that takes is practice, because when you're building a business, it's harder and harder. It's hard to let go of your baby. It's hard to let go of your dream. It's hard to let go of the thing that you believe that you could do better than anyone else. And so it is a learned attribute, or it's a learned skill set to be able to say, oh, okay, cool, you're good at it, go ahead, and then move. That's light.
What happens when you bring in everyone, and this is just devil's advocate, when you bring in a bunch of people, right? And how do you convince these people, if all these people are better than you at something, right? And they all take over the whole role of running this company, what do you tell them your value is?
Well, I do have a response to that, but I know that Alex is damn good at what he does too, so I want you to say something to this.
You go first. I'll go.
Okay. So ask the question again.
How do you prove your value to all the people that you brought in and they're better than you at this certain thing? What is your value now?
Because a lot of people will recognize that you recognize them. That's your value. It's as long as you recognize them as being the best, because when someone is working on something and they're working on it diligently, they're putting their effort into it, they're putting their livelihood into it, their income is based on it, you have to understand that they are going to go through emotional roller coasters, right? Everyone does in their job. They're going to be up and they're going to be down, because you saw the value in them. As long as you keep letting them know that they are valued, then when they are down, they're going to come to you and you show them that they are valuable to you, and then they will get back up and they stay. Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
So if, like, from an objective perspective, all these, I don't know, BOD, board of directors, CEO, CRO, CFO, C-suite, yeah, they're all sitting there, they're like, okay, this guy brought us all together, but what value is he actively contributing besides recognizing that we are good?
That's a good question. So your very best CEOs, the very best CEOs out there will understand and know that their job is to make the owner not work, to not be involved. That's their job. And so if you have a CEO that needs you around for you to keep creating value, then you shouldn't hire that CEO, right? So that's a good question, and that question makes me know that I would not hire that person. I need someone to tell me, hey, I will run this business for you.
So you don't need to provide any value.
You don't need to provide.
You just need to build.
Yeah.
Build it and leave.
Yep.
And then did you always have this, I I don't say lack of ego, but like you didn't have an ego when making decisions about bringing people on. Was this something that was born into you or instilled into you?
No, it's difficult at times because it is hard for me to let go of some things, because if I am the visionary and I am the one that thought outside the box, all the organization is working, but how do I make something new and big and better? If I am the one that brought that in and I'm like, yeah, Fox, this is awesome, hell yeah, and someone's like, hey, give it to us now. I'm like, no, fuck you. Like, well, this is mine, I made it. Like, Jake, give it to me. I'm like, I promise you guys, this was about 2 weeks ago. I had an emotional breakdown because someone took something from me from SolarCon that I enjoyed and loved doing. And the CEO was like, Jake, this is why you brought me on, and this is why you brought them on. Let them be in charge of it. I'm better at it. This is their profession too. Let them be in charge. And I'm like, and I had a choice. I could say fuck you and fire. I learned not to get emotional, make decisions when I'm emotional. But I did get so emotional. I hit my phone. I should have thrown it in the ocean. Luckily, I had enough fortitude not to get on it. Because the next morning I woke up and I was like, I did bring them in for that. They're literally just doing exactly what I've always wanted. But you do get emotional and connected to the things that you begin to build and create.
But why do you do that, Jay? Why is there an emotional factor attached to something you love? Which I get.
What you
but
build?
It's yeah, but like when you look at it practically, you literally did bring them on to take that position over. Mm-hmm. But where does that emotion stem from? Does that come from like passion? Or does that come from like, oh, this is what I do, this is what I love, and this guy's taking it away from me?
Yeah.
Are you putting that much work into something, like, as an entrepreneur, like, you don't love anything more than your business, you know? It's like, when you put in that much work into something, it's like, I don't know.
It turns into more than a business. It's more like a creation.
It's a creation. It's an entity. It's literally an entity.
It's like that. It is almost as much, if not more, than like the love of a child. It's like I created this child. I also created this business. Like, it sounds silly, but like it's real. Like when you put in that much work into something, and like blood, sweat, and tears, and over several years, like especially what he's talking about when he probably put like, which company were you talking about?
Which one?
The one just now. Sorry, SolarCon. But either way, like the amount of time and effort, the more time and effort you put into it, the more you just naturally like love it. And
yeah, there's no greater feeling than if you're going to start a business and like, let's say this table is just flat, solid, dark piece of wood here, right? It's just, there's nothing to it. And your business is moving along flat like this, and all of a sudden there's a breath. Holy shit, this thing I've been creating, someone saw value in it and spent money on it. Oh my God, it's real now. I really made something that someone else saw value in. And then you go again, and then the breath happens again, and then again, and then it just starts breathing. And you've brought this thing to life. And you were there from the very beginning, the blood, sweat, and tears, and this thing is functioning now as an organism that you created. You definitely get emotionally attached.
I've literally cried tears of sadness, although I don't really cry over sadness, but I've cried tears of joy, like for the first time, like over this like deal that was like really important.
Tears of sadness, I'm a man.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant like over the business, because like if something goes wrong in the business, it happens all the time. I'm not gonna like cry like a bitch, you know what I mean? Like it happens all the time. But for me to cry over tears of joy, that's just like rare. I've never actually done that. Other than that, visuals, I've cried tears of joy, and that's when I do. Like,
dude, you know those times? I've never had it. Just be talking about when something happened, and you're just
I felt like gratefulness.
Yeah, like
too grateful.
Like I just remember like on like one of our blitzes like out in Florida, and just like I don't know, just getting like a phone call from this guy that said he was gonna close, and I cried tears of joy. Like yeah, like just because, and it wasn't even, I wasn't really even making money on it. I just knew that's like we needed that, like in order for like a certain amount of sales reps to get what they needed. Like so like when I've never cried tears of joy in anything else in my life, I don't think.
One of the most important people in my entire life is my son's mom. Her name's Nicole. That woman has been through hell with me. She has seen me go from broke, and I spent her money, and we had a kid together, and we were engaged, and she broke it off because of my toxic behavior, and she's with me now. right? One of the most important people in my entire life, and she wanted to create a company herself. She wanted to start making candles, and I really want entrepreneurs to know this. Your most valuable time is going to be in the beginning, the time that you're going to remember the most and value the most. She wanted to make these candles, and for some reason, she got this crazy idea in her head, and she kept making them and making them and making them, and it was never perfect. She had this crazy fucking idea in her head that these candles had to be perfect. And I was like, Nicole, do you know that as an entrepreneur, if you made these candles perfect and you sold them in the store for like, let's say $20 or something per candle, and your first ones were there that were breaking apart and kind of a little bit sideways and cracks in them, do you know I'd actually pay more money for those, for the distorted ones, the broken ones, because it reminds me, to me that's art. It's not a candle anymore. It reminds me of the grind of a business. It reminds me of where you can be to where you are now. Cool, those candles are great, but I want that. And she had this idea in her head that those candles had no value, when in fact it's the opposite. To me, they were tremendously more valuable than the nicer ones. And a lot of entrepreneurs are I want them to know that the beginning of your business is going to be more valuable to you than anything you could ever build it to, because that's when you took the step, that's when you took the leap and the jump. And so many people in this world want to be inspired by that and remember that. And so do not trash yourself in the beginning, and allow people to find beauty and excitement in the beginning, and let them buy into you and feed into you. Don't say it's not perfect yet. And she did that, and until I explained it, and then she started to grasp, yeah, there is something greater to business than the actual product.
Mm-hmm. Those go in the candles for entrepreneurs section. They can relate to the grind.
Yeah, and that's where value comes from. Anything is how people relate to it, right?
Yeah, and then that's a very interesting point, because you talked this whole time about efficiency and putting people in place to do all the work, and you recognize their talent. And then you told the story about how you wish you could still be involved in this thing at SolarCon. And then you talked about how you miss being in the very beginning and taking those first steps. But now that you've made everything so efficient, you can be detached from the grind a little bit. Do you ever?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, I build all of these things and create the efficiencies and put people in place so that I can do what?
Another time.
Go create another one. I love doing that. If your idea dies, if the flame inside of you dies, then it doesn't matter who you put in place or what efficiencies you create or what systems or operations, because the flame will have died and all of the rest of it will die with it. So choose your idea, choose what you're passionate about, and allow other people to buy into your dream. Do not buy into theirs.
I gotta think about this. There's so many different things, and also depends on the audience. And I know Lavit students, because I was a Lavit. So
this is just gonna be on YouTube.
It's gonna be on YouTube. Oh, okay, awesome. I'll be on YouTube.
I did that YouTube.
I'll just say
we're gonna be famous.
I just say, really, with the right amount of time, with enough grit and discipline, you can do anything you can think of. It all just takes time and effort, and that's the number one reason people fail, is because they don't put in the time or effort. I think a lot of people think there's too many different outside factors, like it's not the right market, it's not the right time, it's not the right product. That's all BS. It's really just amount of time and effort. It's really what it all comes down to.
Well, I feel this conversation could go on forever if we're here, but guys, I would like to end on 3 habits that you guys practice every day and that's helped you over the years.
Work out, pray, and just be thankful for everything.
So gratitude is huge.
My 3 habits, I usually try to wake up between 4 and 5 every morning. And that's such a good one. I wish everyone would do that.
That is good.
I try to wake up between 4 or 5 every single morning. I always try to give back during the day in any way I can. I'm sorry, not in any way I can. I always try to give back at least once a day to somebody. And the third one would be I don't know. I know what it is. I just don't know how to word it properly. It has to do with my son. I try to show value to him every day that I'm around him, and not everyone has a son. You can love your Xbox too. No, but I try to show value to my son. So when I go through the house for the first time, I learned this from a guy named Ed Milet, if anyone knows him. So he said, put your phone away for 15 minutes right when you're walking through the door, because things are crazy on your phone all the time once you're operating like this. And if you leave it in your car for 15 minutes, your kids are going to come and they're going to hang all over you, and then they're going to love you. And then 15 minutes later, their attention span is gone and they're going to go and play anyway. But you don't want to be the dad that comes in and is on your phone and taking those phone calls, and your kid's trying to play with you and you're like, hey, just 5 minutes, because they've already lost interest in you and they're going to remember that, right? And so leave your phone in your car, show appreciation to your girlfriend, wife, husband, and to your kids by giving them that 15, 20 minutes and then going back to doing it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
That's really good.
That was Ed Milet. It was a life changer.
Ed Milet, 15 minutes, no phone.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, Jake. It's been a pleasure filming this podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure, guys.
So look forward to doing it again if you guys are interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He lives in La Jolla. I live in Florida, but I'll be back.
Exclusive.
Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.